Good morning. Hey girl, hey. So I had somebody reach out to me that I actually went to high school with, and she was asking me to shoot a video for a more in-depth how I do my foundation, how I do my contouring, my highlight, all of that. So I realized that I really didn't go in depth on my first video because I was using a powder foundation. So I'm going to go in today. My skin is already moisturized. I let it sit in for a little bit so that it can absorb into my skin and so that you don't have any slippage. 5-10 minutes is usually good for me because I do have dry skin. I moisturize my skin every night. I wake up in the morning. I do a quick wash. I don't exfoliate in the morning. I do that at night. I don't know why, it just works better for my skin. And then I'll put on a moisturizer, go around, do the rest of my stuff, get dressed, and then by the time it sets in, I'm ready to sit down and do my makeup. So I've already moisturized today, and then I'm going to go in with 2 different primers. I have relatively dry skin. I drink a lot of water. I use a lot of serums, but it helps, but it's still at baseline, my skin is dry. So I am going to use the Luminous Putty Primer from e.l.f. on the majority of my face. And then I'm going to, or on all of my face. And then I'm going to go in certain spots that I have larger pores, my forehead, this part of my nose right here, and around my chin. And I'm going to go in with their Poreless Primer. So I'll do that really quickly. This putty primer is actually, it's really nice. You know that if you've watched my other videos, my Maybelline Baby Skin is also incredible. So I just take about that much, and I'll get it in there. I think just as a baseline, when you're learning how to do your makeup and what kind of works for you, you're going to want to figure out what your undertone is. If you're a cool, warm, or neutral. I think for redheads specifically, it's a common misconception that if you're a redhead, because we do have a lot of pink undertones, that everybody is a cool. That's not true. There are a lot of redheads that I know that have a warm undertone, and there, if you Google it, you could just Google it. It'll take you through like a little questionnaire sometimes, or just read some articles. It'll ask you what color your veins look under your skin, would be a big indicator on what your undertone is. Now that I've done that Luminous Putty Primer, I'm going to go in with the Poreless on those areas that I mentioned before. Another really great thing to figure out is what your face shape is. The shape of your face is going to tell you what contour, where to contour, where to put that bronzer so that you can pull back certain areas and pull forward certain areas on your face. But honestly, you can read all these articles in the world, and if you're doing something different than what they're telling you, then keep doing it. Like, makeup is not to make you feel bad about yourself when you're not wearing it. Makeup's supposed to be fun. So whatever makes you feel the most beautiful, it makes you feel confident and sexy and just highlights your best attributes, and you have been doing it that way, and some articles telling you to do a different way, do it your way. There's no rules to any of this. Just do whatever you want to do, whatever works for you. My sister always wants me to do her makeup, but she doesn't really wear a lot of makeup. So I make sure that I keep it neutral, I keep it low, and I just give her a little bit of brown eyeshadow because she's got these beautiful hazel green eyes that anything I can do to make them pop. But I know that, she doesn't want to put on as much foundation as I do. So I'm going to tell you how I do it. And if you don't do it like that, then don't. It's fine. But if you get a tip, or if you think you want to try something that I'm showing you, then give it a go. If you don't like it, don't do it. If you do like it and you want to modify it, modify it. It's like yoga. Makeup is like yoga. Some people need a modification. Some people need extra little things to help them get through it, and it's whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever is going to make you feel better at the end of the day. So I'm going to go in, now that I've got my primer on, and I make sure that it's nice and pressed in there. I'm going to go in with my foundation. Since I do have dry skin, I use a lot of luminous foundations. I will use a powder foundation from time to time. I've shot videos on that. But today I'm going to do my luminous because I love a glow. So I'm going to go in with the True Match Lumi in Neutral 1-2. I'm going to take a couple pumps of those. And, oh, I forgot to wet my beauty blender. I'll go in with a brush. It's fine. Everything's fine. I typically would go in with a beauty blender just to buff it out, but I'll show you how to get around that, because I feel like, I know that beauty blenders are a huge thing, but I started out when I first started doing my makeup and really got into what I was comfortable with. I always used brushes, so we'll just go to what I would typically do. So I'll tap it around to get it even, and then I'll start working it in. Some people like going in circles. It really depends on the day for me. I have all sorts of different techniques. So, a lot of the times I'll do this where I'm just kind of pressing it in, moving it around, making sure it's good and in there, adhering to that primer. And this takes a little bit. So the biggest thing that I can tell you, no matter what you like to do, what you don't like to do, what everybody should be doing, is blending. No matter what, if you are just slapping on your makeup and you're not really taking the time to blend it out, move it around, make sure that it's really adhering to your skin, that you don't have any streaks, because as you're blending it, it's going to start drying and then it's going to set in place. And it's going to be harder for you to go in and correct anything later. So that is where a beauty blender does come in really handy, is that it will let you go in and correct it. I actually have, I'm going to show you, when I'm doing my makeup, I have a couple things that I always put in my vanity while I'm doing it, just in case my mind changes while I'm doing it. I always bring up a fresh cup of water, warm water, so that if I do want to use a beauty blender, I can, so I don't have to get up and have to go to the bathroom and squeeze it out and the whole thing. So I actually do have that. So I'll go ahead, press this in with my brush, and then I have a cup of warm water with me. I'm going to take my beauty blender and I'm going to, I know it sounds so gross, I always have a towel with me so that I can wipe my hands after I'm done. So you want to give the beauty blender in water a good, I would show you, but my cup isn't clear. You want to give it a good 10 to 15 pumps, and it's going to get really happy, really fat. So now that I have placed it on my skin with my brush, I'll go in and start using my beauty blender, or I'll just do the whole thing with my beauty blender. But because I didn't wet it right away, I went in with a brush. I'm going to take a couple more pumps of that. And I'll concentrate that on the areas that I just want a little bit more coverage. Because I do have such fair skin, I do turn red really easily in my cheeks. So I will kind of concentrate that extra in my cheeks so I can get that fuller coverage that I want in those areas. When you're using your beauty blender, don't drag it. Pat it in. The whole point of a beauty blender is to soak up the excess that is still wet and press it into your skin as opposed to dragging it over your skin. So you want to make sure that you're patting, and pressing that into your skin. I think the original beauty blender says to press and roll it because it's all round, but this one has a flat edge that I just really love. So I don't roll it so much, but whatever works for you is whatever works for you. I'm just telling you how I do it because maybe you can pick up a trick. I will drag it down my neck because I'm just trying to get some evenness in my tone there. But as for my face, I'll pat it in. Now, what a beauty blender does is every time that you put a layer on your skin, it's going to dry. So if you really want to double it up, or if you have a foundation that's sheer to medium, you can build it. So that's what you look at beauty gurus and they're telling you that it's sheer to medium, but it's buildable. Put on your first layer. As you're doing it, it's going to dry, and then you can go in with a second layer. You don't have to worry about this absorbing everything you just did. It's only going to absorb the excess that's not immediately getting pressed into your skin. So It helps give you that airbrushed look without it looking cakey, but you can definitely, you can build it up, you can work on it. Doing your makeup every day, or when you do your makeup, taking the time to really do it, I feel like it's just gives us that 10 to 15 minutes a day where it's something that we can do for ourselves that's going to build our confidence, and it just makes your girl feel good, you know? So now that I've laid down my foundation, now that I've laid down my base, I've got my primer, I've got my foundation, I'm going to go in, I'm going to start highlighting areas. The areas that you want to highlight, if you're standing in the sun, it's where the sun's going to hit you the most. So it's under your eyes, on the tops of your cheekbones, brighten it, bring it forward. If you want to contour your forehead, then you're going to want to make the middle of it a little brighter. And then if you want to highlight your chin, really whatever works for you for your face shape. So that's another thing of figuring out what your face shape is, and you can find charts that will tell you what you should be doing. Do whatever you want. So I go under my eyes, I go on my forehead, I go down the ridge of my nose because I do have deep pores. I'm trying to get some concealer in there to kind of fill everything in. On the top of my lip right here, and then on my chin. So the only thing that I don't like about this Maybelline concealer is that you have to turn it so many times to get the product that you want. There we go. And the reason why I take it out here is it's gonna, when you do that, it lifts everything back. So then I'll do an X on my chin, one right there, one down the ridge of my nose, and make a fun little fountain on your forehead. And then you're going to take the Beauty Blender, take that point, or you can take a small brush like this and blend it out. Since I'm using the Beauty Blender right now, I'm going to go ahead and just buff it out with the Beauty Blender. And you're just going to follow it back and forth. And then I take it down into that cheek because for whatever reason, my cheeks, the apples of my cheek don't carry pigment very well. It's not that they're not moisturized. There's just certain parts of some people's skin that don't pick up pigment. And that is one of those areas for me. And funny enough, it's more on my left apple than it is on my right. So I really, depending on how this turns out, I may go in, oh no, it turned out great. This foundation or this concealer, I swear, it's the second time I used it and I'm still so impressed. Totally understand what everybody was talking about. It looks like this. You can get it in any drugstore. I got mine off Amazon. I'm just going to buff that out. And my nose. Really press it in. And then that little bit on my forehead. Okay, now what I'm going to do, and you don't have to do this, but if you start looking at setting powders to start, just get like a basic translucent one so you can kind of see how it sits on your skin. There's all different kinds. So another reason to figure out what your skin type is, what your face shape is, what your undertones are, is so that you can start figuring out what color range of products to use. You could start looking up beauty tutorials specifically for that skin tone, that skin type, that, you know, if you want to use a powder or a liquid, there's a million options for you, but it's really figuring out what that baseline skin tone, skin type, face shape is. The inner corner is creasing a little bit, so I am going to pat that in with a brush. So I find particularly for redheads, you'll see a lot of videos on YouTube, on Facebook that have people using banana powder. I find that because my skin is so fair, banana powder does not brighten for me. And that's the whole purpose of it, is for people with warm skin tones or deeper skin tones, that banana powder, it has yellow undertone, but it really brightens on their skin. For me, it doesn't. So the best powder that I have found for highlighting my face and going over that liquid concealer to kind of set it in is the Bare Minerals concealer. Now this is relatively light. It does build very, very well, so you can go in until you get the brightness that you need, but it is very fair, very buildable, and it works on top of products very, very well. So I just take a little capful like that. I take a fluffy brush because I don't want it too concentrated, and I'm going to start patting that in where I put that highlighter or the concealer. And once I've patted it in, then I can go and start going back and forth in sweeping motions. And the perfect amount that I have found is that I will close this, I'll tip it over, and that powder then is gonna, you'll see, the powder that is gonna stick to the cap, that is way too much. But you do want the amount to adhere to the top, so then I'll take the back of this, without opening it, I just wanted to show you, tap it a couple times, and it leaves me like the perfect amount, so I'm not wasting product. And if you need just a little bit more, just take the tips of those bristles and swirl it around on the inside. Did my music stop? Why? Ah, okay. Sorry, guys. Interesting. It's playing. It's just not making any noise. I love that I got when you guys give me requests for stuff, it just makes my little black heart beat. I'm going to go in just the middle here. I'm not going to set my whole face with this. I'm going to go in with a different powder. I'm just trying to go in where I wanted to brighten up and reinforce the lightness of it. Okay. And always around my nostrils, I try to get it really good because seasonal allergies. Now, I'm going to set the rest of my face with a mineral setting powder. I like mineral setting powders because, like I said, I have dry skin. I feel like matte powders can kind of, they just don't work well on my skin unless I'm going to a big event. And I am going to bake my face today. Tell you why I'm baking my face. I don't really have anything to do, but because it was requested, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to take that, get it all on a big fluffy brush, and I'm just going to go into the rest of my face and tap this in. And you can go over that concealer if you want to. I'm only going to do it on my chin, my nose, my lip, and my forehead. I'm not going to do my under eyes. And always down the neck. Really wanting to blend that in very, very well. If you don't set your concealer, what's going to happen is your skin's going to warm it up. Your foundation, your skin's going to warm up the creams. Your skin's going to warm up any liquids, and it's going to start slipping throughout the day. It's going to start seeping into those pores. It's going to start breaking apart on your chin and looking super, super patchy. So even if you just take a light amount of powder, I don't take a whole lot, just lock that in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in with a loose setting powder. This one is incredibly matte, but for the purposes of showing you how to bake, I'm going to use this one because it is great, 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 great baking powder. But first, one thing that's really good about those translucent powders is that they can kind of clean up any sloppiness if you're going in with a bronzer to contour your face. So I am going to go in with the Physicians Formula Ultimate Butter Bronzer. I don't have my individual pot, or else I'd just pull that out. And I'm going to go ahead and bronze my face with the top two right here. Finding out what your undertone is going to help you find a bronzer, because a lot of people will tell you that you have to use a cool bronzer. It looks good on everybody, and that's not true. Some people, if you put a cool bronzer on their face, it's going to look gray. It's going to look like you went outside and you rubbed dirt all over your face. So the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer and the Benefit Hoola Bronzer are two really good starter universal bronzers. Some people, when I went in to put the concealer on my face, some people take a dark concealer and go in and start cream contouring. I don't really like to do that. I will sometimes, but it's very rare for me. I like going in with powders on powders. So I'll take that on the brush, and I like to take these parts of my forehead, move it forward, so you'll see me start up here. I want to carve out the bottom of my cheekbones, and then I'm going to define out my jaw. So I'll start in my forehead, get it even on each part of that little widow's peak that I have, and then start blending that around my eye. If you've got a tiny forehead, you can skip this step. I have kind of a large forehead. So for your cheeks, you want to follow the line from the top of your ear right here to the corner of your mouth. And depending on your face shape, you could take it all the way to your mouth. I like to take it about right here under the apples of my cheeks. And then the blush I'll blend in from there. And then I'll take it into my ears and down my jaw. So I'm going to start. You could do this with a smaller brush if you want. What I will do a lot of the times if I'm really trying to bronze and contour that cheek is I'll go in with a big fluffy brush like this, and then I'll go in with a more concentrated brush like this one. Will literally give you a cut. And depending on the look that you're going for, sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. So I'm going to start from that ear, work it down. I try to stay in a straight line, and then I'll move it up and blend it to match where I ended when I came down from my forehead. And then that gives you that nice, it just brings it in and cuts that out for you so nicely. And then blend, blend, blend. If your hair's up, get it into your hair. Get it in your ears, which I know sounds weird, but then you'll have like the line right here, butt white ear, and then like a super tan face. And then I'll take that down my jaw. And the reason I do that, because I got a double chin. Because nobody's as skinny as they were in high school. Okay. Now that I've laid down my bronzer, you can go in more than that. You can go in less than that. You can, here, I can just do it. You can take, if you want to cut it. And then move it up and blend it out. You see that? You see that side compared to this side now? I'll do it again. Define your line and then buff it out. Okay, now that we have that in place, I'll take that brush and just move it around. Get that excess off. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that setting powder. Some people like to do the setting powder under their eyes. For me, I find that I just don't like the way that it looks. It's too drying on me, but I will use it to clean up my jawline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that powder on my beauty blender, and I'm going to place it basically where this, whatever the frick this is called, and I'm going to cut it down towards my mouth, and I'm going to clean up that line. And the reason why you want to go in and put it on thick is because everything that we have learned about makeup literally has come from drag queens. And they do this because, so you see how I'm defining out that line? I can use a little bit more. Don't be shy about the powder. Get it on there. So what I'm doing right now is basically everything that's underneath this, all of that foundation, if there's any concealer, anything that you put here and you put powder on top of it and you put it on thick, it's going to sound horrible, but what it's doing is it is suffocating your skin. But in the process of doing that, it's not going to damage your skin. You're going to be fine. But in the process of doing that, it's trapping the heat from your skin between this powder and everything that's underneath it. It's heating it up and it's baking it and locking it in. So if you have a long day, if you have a big event, you lock in this foundation, it is not going to budge. It will be in there. And you're not going to leave it here the whole time. You're just going to put it on long enough for you to do a couple extra steps. I get really oily right here, and right in the middle of my forehead. So I'm going to lock it in there too. A bit more. I'll do it on my nose because I have large pores on my nose. I don't really do it on my under eyes. And I'll do it a bit on my forehead, but nothing crazy. You can do this as thick as you want it, but you just want to create that layer and let it sit for a bit. I look crazy, right? But when I brush this off, you see that line I'm creating right there? That is going to get you snatched. And I do mean snatched. So while I'm doing that, I'll put on my blush, which I'm going to use. No, I'm going for a fluffy. I'll use a fluffy brush like this. I'll go in. I'm going to use the Milani Big Brush in Luminoso. I feel like for redheads specifically, this is such a beautiful shade. It's comparable to the NARS Orgasm Blush, which is also a universal blush for so many different skin tones. And I'm just going to put that on my eye. It's okay if you wipe away a little of that powder. It's all right. It's fine. It's not going to kill anything. You're just trying to get the product underneath that to not move. So I'll put my blush on. And depending on your face shape too, it'll tell you to put blush in different places. Some people look really good when they put blush back here. Like, I hear a lot of people are like, that was from the 80s. But like, no, with some people's faces, putting blush back there near your ears and not so much on the apples of your cheek is going to open your face up. I just like putting it on apples of my cheeks because I have high cheekbones, big apples, and I like to accentuate them. So now that that's going, you can leave this on for as long as you want. You can leave it on for 20 minutes. You can go run errands, not run errands. You can go do some stuff around the house, however much you want. For the sake of getting this video kind of wrapped up quickly, I'm going to take that same big fluffy brush that I used when I was setting my face, and I'm going to brush off all of this powder. Do you see the line now? And it just really cleaned up that bronzer. And I'll go ahead and get it off of my nose, which is running now, thank you. And just press any more into my skin that was up there. All right. And the last part that she wanted me to go through and show you guys was why I place my highlighter where I place it. So I'm going to go with the Maybelline Master Chrome Face Studio highlighter in, what is this? What's this? This is the 250. So it's not too gold. It's not too pale. It's just a beautiful, beautiful color. So I'll take it on a fluffy brush that has a pointed tip like that. You see that? Swirl it around. I like a lot of highlighter. Sometimes I don't tap it off before I put it on my face. So I'm going to take it from literally the corner of my eyebrow, and I'm going to dip it down like this in a C. Depending on where I'm going that day, I may drag it back into my hairline, but for today, I'm just going to go like that and really get the top of that cheekbone. You don't want to get it under your eye right here, like in the pocket of your eye. Just skim right underneath. And I like putting a lot of it on the apples of my cheeks because when I smile, it moves with my skin so well. And then I also will put it up here above my eyebrow, which will give it a lift. And I put it under my eyebrow as well. I haven't done my eyebrows yet because I'm just trying to give you some face here, but and I'm going to do the same on this side. Finding your face shape will tell you where to put this. Or you can put it everywhere like I do because I love highlighter and it makes my skin look so beautiful. I put it on my nose. Don't want to draw attention to your nose. Don't like your nose. You can nose contour. I could do another video on that. I put it down the bridge of my entire nose because I just love glowy skin. I do put it on my chin. Not everybody does that. You can if you want to. If you don't like your chin, leave it alone. And then I put it on the top of my Cupid's bow. And then whatever's left over, I do this. Some people don't. They don't want to look sweaty. I don't think it looks sweaty. And even if it did, I don't care because I like my skin to glow and not be so matte. I put that matte powder up here. I've got almost nothing on my brush. And I'm just going to take whatever's left over. And that is how I foundation, set, conceal, and blush, bronze the whole thing. So you'll see I've moved this part of my head back. I've cut my cheekbones here. I've obviously gone in and put my blush on and then put my highlighter on. Now, if your blush is looking a little like, take whatever brush you use to use your setting powder that doesn't have any colored product on it and blend it out. Blend, blend, blend. Always. That's the number one rule. That's the only rule. That's the only rule in makeup. Blend it. Blend it out. No harsh lines. Unless, I mean, if I'm going to an event where I have a lot of pictures, I'm going to make that line cut. Because in pictures, it looks incredible. And there's nothing better than getting a candid, oh, I'm talking to my husband picture, and your cheek is like, you know, it's the best. So that's it. I'll put on my brows. I'll put on just, I'm just doing this because I have a conference call, literally. I'll put on some liquid liner, mascara, a nude lip, and then this will be my, you can do this every day. And if you keep your eyes light, keep your lips light, don't go in too heavy-handed, you can do this every day. This doesn't have to be for special events. You can literally do this, make it manageable. I'll go in deeper if I want to make it deeper. I'll go in lighter if I want to go lighter, but just do yourself a favor, figure out what your skin type is, wash your face, don't put anything on it for 30 minutes and see what happens. Or like 2 hours later, see if you've got oil in some spots, dry in some spots. You may be a combination. You may have oily skin. You do want to use a ton of this because it's going to absorb the oil. It's going to keep it in place. It's going to keep everything from locking. You can bake with it for a lot longer with a lot more product. I just don't need to do that. Figure out what your skin type is. Figure out what your undertone is. Figure out what your face shape is. And then from there, do whatever you want to do. It is about what makes you feel good. Don't let any of these beauty gurus or anybody that's doing these fancy things with eyeshadow on Facebook make you feel like you're not doing it right, or you're not doing enough, or you're lazy. Whatever makes you feel beautiful, that's what makeup is for. It's not to hide anything. It's to enhance how you feel inside. That is the most important thing. However you feel inside is what you're going to exude. And there's nothing sexier and more beautiful than a confident woman who's walking around just like, I am serving face today. Yes. And maybe she only has mascara on and she has really pretty eyes. And that's what makes her feel beautiful. Do you boo. Do you boo. If you guys want to see anything else, just let me know. My girlfriend from high school literally messaged me last night and I hopped on this morning and was like, I can knock that out for you. I'm going to give you a little tutorial about how I lay my face down. So you guys wanting to see anything else, you just let me know. I'll hop on here. I'll do it. I'll give you a little shout out. Hey, Ashley. Other than that, have a good day. Be blessed. Feel beautiful. You the best. Bye, girls.